Good morning. So we are beginning with a new chapter today. This is Bhagavad Puran. This is Canto 5 and we are in chapter 10. We are going to understand about King Bharata's life. If you recollect, King Bharata is the person on whose name this Indian subcontinent has been named. We call it the Bharatvarsh. And why is he considered great? So first we saw him in one life wherein he was handed over this entire subcontinent by his father. After he was given this charge, then he rules the kingdom for some time. After that, he goes to the jungles to take Vanaprastha ashrama. And while in the jungle, he meets a deer. He gets so much attached to the deer. So when the deer runs away, he is very upset about it and he dies pining for the deer. Because he kept on thinking about the deer and instead of thinking about God, he is born as a deer. He roams around in the same jungle and thereafter he dies again. Then the next life of his, he is born as a Brahmana in a Brahmin household where he shows his prowess by knowing literally all the Vedas and the Shastras. He's a well-versed person. While he is doing that, he goes on later to become an ascetic. He roams around without any clothes, so he is an avduta. And wherever he gets food to eat, he eats. He sleeps wherever possible and literally looks like a madman. This is what we have studied till now. So now we are going to understand about King Bharata in his next lifetime of his. So it is not the first lifetime of his, but many lifetimes later. See, what is written in your destiny is anyway going to happen. This is what we need to understand. So he is the king in ancient times in whose name this country has been named. This much we have understood. Now we have to understand his greatness in his later on avatars. So today we have a very beautiful story of his. It is called How King Rahugana Accepts the Discipleship of King Bharata. We are still calling him King Bharata because for our simplicity's sake we have to accept it. So now let us start with the story. So we are doing Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 10. Bharata's life story, King Rahugana accepts his discipleship. Sri Sukdev said, this following incident takes place when Rahugana, a king of King Sindhu Sauvira, was going to the sage Kapila for instructions in philosophy. So there was a king called Rahugana and he wanted to accept the discipleship of sage Kapila. If you remember Kapila Muni, correct? Now, he wanted to become a disciple of King Kapila. He is the first avatar of the Lord who comes and teaches his mother, if you remember that. So it's from the past stories. So in this, he is going over there to meet so that he can become a disciple. Now, this is very much later on in life. In the initial stages of life, man accepts discipleship when he is around 6 to 8 years old. When a person is 6 to 8 years old, then they accept discipleship. Okay, that means a child. And they are there with their guru for many years. Anywhere between 12, 16, 18, 20 years, they are there. So once they become grown up, and they can move around in the world. And last time we understood that these young boys, they have to go out in the world and get married at the instructions of their guru. This is a very common story. We have heard this. Now later on in life, what happens? A man is supposed to become a grahastha, carry on his grahasti. That means get married, have children, build a house, do whatever that is necessary. This is for anywhere between 25 to 30 years only, not more than that. So by the time they reach the age of 50 or so, their job is to start the next journey of their life, which is called Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means giving up on your life and moving towards spiritual. See, you have already done what you are supposed to do. As a child, you did your studies, isn't it? You were having a brahmacharya from 0 to 20 or 25, correct? So, as a brahmachari, your job is to learn, which you did. From the age of 20, 25 onwards, you started earning money. You went out in the material world and you took what is called as a grahasti. Grahasti means to get married, settle down in life, earn a living, build a house, all those kind of things is called grahasti. So you do grahasti for these 20, 25 years of your life. After you finish that, then the next job that you're supposed to do is start the journey towards godhood again, which means you have to become a disciple once again of a guru. So Rahugana is a king who goes back to his guru. And his guru, basically, he wants Kapila Muni as his guru. He might be having his old guru wherever he might have learned in a Gurukul. That's a different thing. But now he is going there. So I hope you got this clear. So in the third stage of his life, Rahugana is moving towards Kapila Muni's ashram. One day, so we'll start the story. One day, while Rahugana, the king of Sindhu Sauvira, was proceeding to Kapila Muni's ashram, the captain of the palanquin bearers, who was in search of the palanquin bearer, providentially found this excellent Brahmana, that is Bharata. He thought that this stout young man of sturdy constitution was fit to carry any load like a bull or a donkey. Bharata was taken perforce along with others who was already so employed to carry on the forced labor without remuneration, even though he, Bharata, did not deserve it. That exalted personage carried the palanquin. Now you have to understand what happened to King Bharata. King Bharata, as you know, he was not a king. Remember this. This is his third or the fourth life of his. So he was roaming around like a avduta. So these king's men who were there, Rahugana's men who were there, they were searching for some well-built person who can carry the palanquin. Palanquin means palki. So the king is going towards, Rahugana is going towards Kapila Muni's ashram. And they wanted some laborer. So they caught hold of this stout guy. He's a Brahmana. He's quite well built and all that. So they catch hold of him and they forcibly tell him to carry the palanquin. They don't pay him money and all that. No. So he is made out into a forced laborer. Can you imagine that? He is an enlightened person. The people over there do not understand that he is an enlightened person because he is looks like a ragamuffin. You know, enlightened persons do not have something which is called a halo around their, head, and they will be behaving like, oh, like that, sitting with orange color clothes. And that is not the case. Enlightened people look at Ramana Maharshi, look at Ramakrishna Paramahansa, look at Tukaram Maharaj, look at all these people. Do they show any signs that they are enlightened? Look at Sai Baba of Shirdi. Where do you see these people showing that they are some enlightened people? They don't dress in a certain way. The whole world dresses in a very peculiar manner, orange clothes and this and that, having hold of disciples around them. Nothing like that is there. Second, they do not show off that they know. Here you will find our great friends today, they come on television, they give some stories and then they do all kinds of, a show for the whole world. These people never did any of those things. In a similar fashion, King Bharata, who is the Brahmana now, in his nth life, so he is not showing any signs of being an enlightened person. So he is behaving like an ordinary person. So they catch hold of him and say, now you have to carry this palanquin. The gait of the great Brahmana, who walked after carefully looking at the ground ahead to the length of arrow, did not conform to the other men bearing the palanquin. Rahugana felt that the jolt of the irregular movements of palanquin. He spoke to the men, that is the palanquin bearers, "O bearers, walk properly. Why is this vehicle borne so irregularly?" So now what happens? On one side, we have the Rahugana is sitting in the palanquin, that is the palki, And you will find that on one side we have this great Brahmana who is King Bharata. He is carrying the Palanquin. And he is not walking in rhythm with the other people. The other bearers are there. So he's not walking in rhythm with them. Why? Because he is lost in his own world of the self. He is lost in God. So he doesn't have that idea about this material world. So please understand one thing. The enlightened people, they are lost in their own world. You can't keep on disturbing them. You can't go and say, hey, come on, look at this. Why are you doing like this? So they are in their spiritual world. They are completely lost in their own self. And that is the reason why it is not proper for us to disturb them or expect them to do something. So what happens? King Rahugana is expecting everybody to carry him properly. So he asks this palanquin bearer who is there behind, he says, come on, can you not walk properly? Hearing the taunting words of the master, they, afraid in their minds of application of the fourth remedy, to them humbly submitted to him. Now the remaining people who are carrying the palki must have been a very heavy king or something. At least 4 or 5 people must be carrying him. So what happens? The remaining people, except Bharata, they get very upset. Oh, the king is shouting at us. If the king shouts at you, what happens next? He will ask his soldiers to cut off the head of the person, isn't it? That is the corporeal punishment that is given. You will find that if you disobey somebody big, that person can do whatever he feels like. And King Rahugana is like that. So he can ask people to chop off the head of these people. They're afraid of it. So they fall in line. O Lord of men, we are not negligent. We are properly carrying the palanquin in complete obedience to your majesty's commands. Though employed just afresh, this new fellow does not walk properly. Hence we are not able to carry the palanquin with him. Now what happens over here is the other palanquin bearers, they tell the king, or whoever is the head of the palanquin bearers, see, we are doing it properly. But this new fellow that you caught hold of, somewhere, and you told him you carry the palanquin, this well-built fellow who is there, he is the one who is carrying, he is creating mischief. He is not walking properly. That is why we are not able to walk along with him. He is walking very irregularly. So he, that is the King Rahugana, realized that the contagious disease or fault, even of this one man, certainly becomes a fault of all who come in contact with him. Though he had waited upon the elderly wise person, his original Kshatriya nature overpowered him. His intelligence was clouded with Rajoguna. Getting slightly enraged, he spoke sarcastically to Bharata, whose Brahminic luster remained unmanifested like fire covered with ashes. Now, what happens over here is King Rahugana, he understands. Actually, he's a well-read person. Remember, he had gone to ashram earlier in his life. So, all the kings in the past, all the noblemen in the past, and everybody who understands about Gurukul system, they would always keep their children in a Gurukul, and then the Guru will teach them everything. So he had the knowledge, not that he didn't have, but his nature takes over. He's a king, remember. And a king's nature is always about, pushing and talking rudely with people and all that. So he is a Rajasic person, a very rude human being. As a king, you have to become very, very compassionate, considerate, and kind. But no, because the ego stands out, the person gets very angry and upset. And naturally, he speaks very bad words. That is what he said, isn't it? He said words which are inappropriate. Now, here we have to understand something. The contagious fault or disease, even when one man becomes the fault of all in contact with him. Now understand one thing. When you are in contact with one person, let us say you are in a company of your friends, and these friends, one of them is a bad person. He drinks and he smokes and he does bad habits. Maybe he takes drugs. You know what happens? Because of one bad person, the entire group also becomes bad. Even in our life, if we have one bad person in our life, the entire group, that is it could be your family, it could be friends, it could be anybody. One bad apple can make the entire box bad. You know that. One bad mango can destroy an entire box also. So this is known by King Rahugana. So he says these words. He understands that the fault of all. See, even one man, if he misbehaves, certainly becomes the fault of all. Then everybody falls into that trap. It is the influence of this one bad element. All right. So because of that, what happens? King is shouting at everybody, right? And he doesn't see that this Brahmana, who is none other than King Bharata in his previous life, is an enlightened master. So he says, Alas, what a pity, brother. You're obviously very much exhausted. Your honor alone has carried the palanquin to a great distance for a long time, and these other co-bearers are as good as non-existent. You are neither stout nor possessing a well-built body, and you are overcome with old age, O friend. Though he was thus severely reproached in insulting manner, he who has never superimposed the false notion of I-ness and mindness in his final body, which was created by avidya as a combination of gross matter, attributes, that is, these five elements and 10 sense organs, actions, merits, and sins, and the mind, an unusual configuration of aggregates who, on the verge of merging into Brahma, silently carried the palanquin as before. Now the king is very sarcastically talking. Bharata, who is a Brahmana, is stout and well built. So how is this king talking to him? He says, Oh, poor fellow, you have been carrying this my load for such a long time. You are such a thin fellow. You are not able to walk. You are an old man. And this person, who is an enlightened person, doesn't take it very much in his mind. Why? Because he understands that he is not the body. The senses, the mind, and everything in this world is acting according to their own laws. So if there is an idiot in front of you and he is speaking badly, you have to become more spiritual in nature and not even bother about such an idiot. Always remember this. If there is someone who is speaking ill about you or doing something wrong to you, it is not important for you to give back. So what does the king do? The Brahmana does? He doesn't say anything. Then what happens? Later on, when the palanquin was born irregularly again, Rahugana flared up in rage and said, Oh, what does this mean? You are as good as dead, though alive. Disdaining me, who am the Lord, you transgress the command of your Lord? Like unto Yama, who metes out punishment to people, I shall administer the corrective remedy to you, a negligent fellow, so that you will come to your senses. Rahugana gets very angry because, remember, King Bharata, who is that Brahmana, is not in his own world. He is lost in the self and he is doing according to what he is doing. Right? His body performs the action, but he is not performing. There is no ownership anywhere. So he performs exactly in the previous manner. Rahugana gets very angry and he says, Do you know who I am? I am the king of this world. I can chop your head off and I can do this like Yama can dish out punishment and send you to hell. I can also do the same. So he gets very upset, angry, and shouts at him. The venerable Brahmana, who was to be absorbed into the Brahma, was well-wisher of all beings, the very self of all, totally free from pride. He spoke with a slight smile to Rahugana, who indulged in a great deal of irrelevant bragging. This way Rahugana was puffed up in the pride of being the lord of men, who was inebriated with arrogance and infatuation born of Rajas and Tamas, contemptuously disregarded the whole community of the votaries of the Lord by insulting Bharata, who, though considered himself to be learned, had little knowledge of the modes of behavior with a master of yoga. Rahugana, who might have been a knowledgeable person, doesn't know how to behave with these kind of enlightened masters. In the material world, people do not look at a master as if, like he is some person, great person, but they treat him like dirt. They speak whichever way they feel like. They feel that they can shout at him, they can, do whatever they feel like, call him names. So many a times you will find that people talk very rudely. They misbehave. You are not supposed to do that. Because this master, this great person, Bharata, was lost in his own self in the Brahma constantly. He may be eating, drinking, sleeping, walking, talking, or whatever, but he is constantly in the self. It does not really matter to him. He is not at all interested in all these things. See, many a times it happens that people will call me up or people talk to me and they will say, oh, in this drama, this happened, in this world, this happened, and that happened. What is the point in talking? I ask these people, is it going to give you progress in your life? Is it going to go and show you God? Then what is the point of telling me about some Korean drama or something happening in your life? Where my mother and father is like this, my this one is like that, my that one is like that. When people come and talk to me, I put them in their places and I said, what is the point? Are you not having attachment with your father and mother that you are talking to me like this? If you are hurt, if something is wrong with you, you come and say, oh, I am not feeling well, I am this and that. What is it to a person? Is it going to give you progress? First you have to understand. Yesterday I was doing a satsang where it is mentioned. Ekanath Maharaj says, okay, he says, 1 million lives, 1 million lives. After that, you get one human birth. Can you understand? 1 million lives of ant, cockroach, this, that, animals, birds, stone, whatnot. After all these 1 million lives, you are getting a human birth today. If you are getting a human birth today, it is your duty to make use of this birth and not even waste a day in your life. Your job is to go towards enlightenment or self-realization and get out of this another million lives of yours, no? But people get lost in their material world. They talk about their body. They talk about their own self. They talk about people around them. They talk about their jobs. They talk about money. They have got everything to do except think of God and go towards reality. Are you not wasting this one life which you got after million lives? And that is the reason why I tell these people, don't come and talk to me about some Korean drama and China did this and this one did that. It is not correct. If you ask me a spiritual question, I will answer you because that will give you spiritual will. At least this one life after a million life, you can get enlightened. You can get out of this system. But no, they have other important nonsensical things to discuss. And this is where we all go wrong. So here you will find that King Rahugana is bothered about his own self. So he starts misbehaving with people. Why is the ego so strong? Rahugana's ego is so strong. You can see, okay, this person is walking properly or not properly. If he is not walking properly, you can just, move him aside and ask somebody else to carry you. Isn't that correct? You will solve your problem also. And that poor man is not going to get disturbed. That's a very simple way of doing the problem solving. But no, he has to continue in diatribe. He is supposed to talk bad about it. So he continues to speak. But Bharata is an enlightened person. He is not at all disturbed. So now we are going to learn what he is saying. The Brahmana said, this is the Bharata is saying, okay? What you stated about fatigue bearing palanquin alone for a long distance is a fact. There is no sarcasm over here. If there be anything like a burden, and if it is borne by a body called bearer, and if the body has any relation with me, then the taunt will apply to me. So also if a station is to be reached by the goer, there would be the way. Only the fools and never the wise apply the epithet stout to the soul, for this description is applicable to the body only, the conglomeration of the bhutas and not the soul. So here King Bharata is smilingly telling the king, he says, You know, sometime back you called me a thin fellow, a fat fellow, and you called me old also. This old or stout or fat is connected to the body. The body is a container. Why should I be bothered with your body? I am not the body, no? So for me, it doesn't matter. You are just calling the container bad. I hope you are getting that clear. Suppose you have some white hairs. Immediately you will look in the mirror and say, "Oh my God, I got white hairs." Suppose somebody calls you fat. "Oh, you look a little stout, I think you have put on some little weight." The moment somebody says these words to you, what happens? Immediately your mind goes, "Oh my God, these people are calling me fat. That means I must have become very fat. Have I become fat? Have I become old? Has this happened to me? Why am I such a person?" Your entire life you destroy. Human beings live in the past and they destroy their future. One life after a million. Imagine that. You got one life of a human being after a million lives of all nonsensical things like from animals, birds, insects, and all that. Now you have got one life, and in that life you're bothered about your fat. I'm bothered about I've become old. I'm bothered about what people talk to me. I'm bothered about how they say, how they look at me. I am living like this. My body is like this. My clothes are like this. Everything is bothering you. Are you not bothered that this is one life? You may be living for 60, 70, 80, 90 years. It's a waste of your life. So, King Bharata is telling him, who is the Brahmana, is telling this King Rahugana, see, whatever you have given the names, no, that is only for the body. And I am not the body. So for me, it doesn't really matter. Corpulence and emaciation, pains, that is mental worries, hunger and thirst, fear, quarrelsomeness, desire, old age, sleep, attachment, anger, arrogance, and grief. All these apply to one who is born with a body, but not to me. What a beautiful line. Here he is telling the king, Rahugana, see, whatever that you spoke of is applicable to a body. All these things which we said, the fatness, the thinness, the pains, the worry, the attachments, the hunger, the thirst, the fear, the quarrelsomeness that is there, the desire, the old age, the sleep, the waking up, all these things, anger, arrogance, grief, all this applies to the body. The body is a painful one. It has got all the negative characteristics possible. Okay? It always looks at the world from the downside, never the upside. Why? It is not godly at all. It is just a container. Now imagine tomorrow you go to buy a soft drink and it doesn't have a label on it. Will you buy it? No. If you go and buy a sauce bottle, okay, and there is no label on it, will you buy it? No. In a similar manner, you are so much concerned with the brand name, the brand identity, the container that is there. Everything you are bothered about it. But you are not bothered about who you are, the self. And that is why you are bothered so much about your body and all the nonsense connected with it. Anger, lust, greed, this, that, everything. So he says, as for your words which are good as dead though alive, simultaneously of life and death is a law found applicable to everyone. That is a product, for all products having beginning and an end. O praiseworthy king, if the relation of the servant and the master were real and permanent, then one would be relation between order and his execution is real. Now again he is saying the same thing to him. He is saying, you thought of me as why you are such a living person and you are not walking properly. What do you think, you are like a dead person? All these kind of words he must have said. So he said life and death. The body is there. The body has life and death. And again you said something about the product. Product means what? The everything that is the product for me. It has a beginning and an end. Doesn't everything have a beginning and an end? Your body also has a beginning, the body also has an end. And you called me a servant now. Do you think in this life when I am your servant and in the next life you might be my servant? How can you say about this that this is permanent? Sometimes you are the husband, sometimes you are the wife, sometimes you are the child, sometimes you are something else. You can't say anything. Sometimes you are a bird, sometimes you are an animal, sometimes you are something else. Every time you have a father, mother, every time you have birth and death, they are not your father, they are not your mother. That body is not yours. The body belongs to this Prakriti. Body is not yours. Who do you think you are to say that this body belongs to you? You are staying in a rented apartment. This rented apartment is only for that purpose of using it for rent. After that, you have to give it away, isn't it? So, this is what he is saying. So, this servant and master thing is only temporary. In this life, you think I am your servant. So, if you think that I am your servant so long as you are the king, we do not find the slightest ground of the notion of the difference as a king and a servant, except conventional verbal usage. However, who is then the ruler and who is the governed servant? However, please tell me what we should do for you. Here, Bharata is telling him, okay, you think you are the great king and I am only a servant. So tell me, what do you want me to do for you? It is all these are words only. Somebody calling you something are words only. Suppose somebody calls you by some name, you are an idiot. And I have been called in life so many names. Suppose I take it that I am like this. From Kalia to whatever. Kalia means a black fellow. To being called as all kinds of dirty names also. Does it mean that I have to take it and put it on my head and say I am this? It is not important. People have dirty mouths, they are allowed to speak. There are horrible people in this world. They can speak whatever they feel like. Why are we interested in it? If you are learning spirituality, why are you getting carried away by the labels? It is okay. Happens to the body all the time. That doesn't make you great. If somebody praises you, you are such a great person, you are like this, you are like, doesn't make anybody great. And suppose somebody calls you a dirty name or says something bad, doesn't make anything bad at all. They're just calling out to some body of yours. Bharata, present a dilemma to show that the king's threat of punishment is. Oh no, where did we go? If I be a mukta, beyond bondage of samsara, what purpose and to what extent can be served by your treatment or lessons to me, who is established in the self, though appearing like a lunatic, intoxicated and dull-witted? And if I be not a mukta, the proposed punishment or a lesson to a person who is obstinate and insane is useless, grinding floor over here. So he is looking at the king, Rahugana, and saying, tell me something. You are calling my body with all these names. But let us suppose I am an enlightened person. What is the point in calling me these names? Tell me. Do you think I will take them? Do you think they are applicable to me? Constantly there is this argument between Rajma and me where she gets very upset when some idiot somewhere calls me by some name or they talk badly about me. So I tell her it does not really matter. Somebody can say whatever they feel like, doesn't make me that. They are calling this body. And the distinction is very clear, isn't it? The body is not mine, isn't it? So what difference does it make to me? No difference at all. Why? You can't even touch me. Simple. There is nobody in this world who can touch. Why? Because you accept the responsibility of the body, which is your possession, then you are going to feel bad about it. If a scratch appears on your car, you are going to feel bad about it, isn't it? In a similar manner, if your husband is given some bad words, or your wife is called by some name, or your child is beaten up, and if you take the responsibility, yeah, this is my husband, this is my wife, this is my child, this is my house, this is my car, this is my vehicle. When you take the responsibility, you become responsible. The karma associated with that comes to you. But when you are not even taking responsibility of anything, everything is done by God's will only, isn't it? So then why are you bothered so much about it? So naturally he is telling King Rahugana this thing. He says you are talking to an enlightened person who doesn't even care about his body. Got the point? Sri Sukdev said, in this way, Bharata replied, statement after recapitulating them, the great sage was tranquil and self-controlled by nature. Nescience, the cause of false identification of the body with the soul, had ceased in him. He wanted to exhaust the sufferance of the karma that was bearing fruition, and he continued to bear the vehicle of the king. By the force of a genuine right faith, the king of Sindhu Sauvira countries became eligible to inquire into the truth. Having carefully listened to the speech of the Brahmana, which is calculated to resolve the knot at one's heart and which was approved of by many treatises in yoga, he got down from the palanquin in a haste and prostrated himself with the head at the sage's feet, beseeching forgiveness and completely free from the pride of his royalty. He said, now here what happens is, after King Bharata, who is that Brahmana, gives him that talk, he says, what is this? You think you are talking to me? Doesn't matter to me at all. The moment he says these words, the body identification goes away. See, you cannot then take cognizance to anything in this world. Then you are talking about somebody else. You're not talking about the self. The self is effulgent. The self doesn't get involved in anything. The self is beyond bodies and beyond any repercussions or anything in this world. So when you know all these things, you can understand that whoever is speaking this language, he doesn't have any karma, he doesn't have any sufferance. He is free in this world. And the moment this is heard by Rahugana, he realizes his folly. He says, oh my goodness gracious, here is an enlightened person who is carrying me. Can you imagine that? And I have said some bad words to him. So I need to rectify my mistakes. So immediately he jumps out of the palanquin and catches the feet of the master. That is King Bharata. Because he realizes the true worth of the master. You know, people don't realize this. They, in their own ego, fail to understand this truth in life. Many a times we continue to argue and fight over things. With an enlightened master, with the gurus, there is no point. Can you not understand this? You are wasting your time. This is the lifetime opportunity that anybody has got to ask for the most esoteric spiritual questions. So he says, this is a time which I have to spend only in my own growth. And that is why King Rahugana realizes his mistakes, gets down. He says, who are you? The great Brahmana who is in disguise. And do you wear the sacred thread? Who are you among the Avdutas? Whose son are you? What is your native place? Why have you come here? If you have come to our spiritual well-being, are you not the sage Kapila? I am not afraid of the thunderbolt or the Lord of gods and the trident and the three-eyed god, that is Shiva, and the Lord of Yama. I do not fear missiles of the fire god, the sun god, the wind god, or the wealth god, that is Kubera. I am terribly afraid of disrespecting this enlightened person. So immediately Rahugana gets down and says, I'm very sorry. I should not be talking this kind of a language. I am not afraid of even Shiva or Brahmaji or whosoever concerned. But me talking badly with an enlightened person is the worst thing that I have ever done. So he says, can you please tell me who you are? Where are you coming from? What have you done? Are you King Kapila? That is Kapila Muni. Hence, please tell me you are free from attachment, though you possess power. You conceal your superior wisdom and prowess and roam around like a dull-witted person. O pious sage, your words are crouched in yogic terms, as such are not capable of being comprehended by our mind. What is the true asylum in this samsara? I ask this. I am now proceeding to Kapila, who is a master of yoga and the supreme preceptor of sages, who has realized the true nature of the self, who is Hari incarnate and has incarnated in this world by the power of the supreme knowledge. So he tells the Brahmana, he says, I'm very sorry I spoke this kind of words. I can see you speak such highly intellectual things. You know about the self, you know about everything. I am going towards Kapila Muni's ashram. So please kindly tell me who you are and what you are doing over here. It may be perhaps that you honor verily the Kapila himself, who is going incognito for observing the conditions of the people. How can a person attached to the householder's life with intellect blinded fathom the ways of the masters of yoga? Those who are in the material world, those who are lost in their householder's life, they cannot recognize such kind of masters. It is impossible for a householder to recognize the master. A few days ago, there was somebody had called up Rajma. This person was attending all my talks almost every day. And suddenly the person had to go away because the husband of this person behaved in a very obnoxious manner, started calling me names, started saying all kinds of bad things, also insinuated that this woman is having affair with me. Which hell are they going to go to? What kind of life are they going to get? This is something which they should understand. They don't understand because they are householders. The husband is more bothered about his wife, trying to get into spiritual. Why should she get into spiritual? She should be my servant. That is what he is thinking. Such a kind of person is going to go to the worst hell ever. And not million, maybe a couple of more million lives of his, he is going to be born again and again in the worst womb possible. Because you cannot talk in this manner. Any person who speaks this kind of an ugly language is bound to go to the worst hell possible. They don't understand because the entitlement is not there. They are not entitled to speak this kind of words when you don't have the knowledge. So the king raises objection, Bharata's speech given above. I have experienced fatigue through activity. By inference, I presume that your honor must have felt the same while carrying a load while walking. The course of the phenomenal world must be real at the bottom, for otherwise it is impossible to carry water with a non-existent pitcher. The heat of the fire applied to the vessel is conducted to the water. The heat of the water leads to some softening of the grains of the rice from inside. Due to the contact with the body, sense organs, and the life breath and the mind, the state of samsara affects the jiva as a state of environment affects each other. The king is the controller and the protector of the subjects. He who is a servant of Achyuta does not grind the already ground material floor. By carrying out his righteous duty, he propitiates Lord Achyuta and gets rid of his sin. O friend of the distressed, be pleased therefore to cast a friendly glance at me, who out of intoxicating pride of being a ruler of men have treated you with contempt, the best of saints, so that I may be able to cross over the sin of showing disrespect to the righteous people. There may not be any change in you, who is a well-wisher and a friend of the universe, and out of the sense of equality to all are completely devoid of attachment. But a person like me, even though he be Rudra, the bearer of the trident, will certainly perish in near future as a result of his showing disrespected to this exalted one. King Rahugana understands this problem which he has created. He says, I can understand you are having a body. And this body has its own defects. The body can feel tired. The body was shaking. The body could have become old. The body will have its own issues. I should have been a little more kind to you and not treated you like this. Even though you are a sage and a saint, but the sage and a saint will also be having a body which can be suffering. Now, today morning itself, I told Rajma one thing. I said, every now and then, a person should not bring up their own problems constantly. Oh, my head is paining, my back is paining, I am not feeling well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I am feeling sleepy, I am feeling tired. What is this? What is this I constantly? So every time when I take a mouthful of food, I should be saying, I have a problem, I have a problem, I have a problem. Should I be saying just because of my ecclesia? Every now and then you can't be having problems, no? The body has its issues. You have to become more considerate with it. It is okay. You should be able to bear some things in this world also. Sometimes they may be unbearable. Yes, most of it is psychology. You know that very well, isn't it? But old people, their body is deteriorating. That 5% where the problem is physical or otherwise, we have these three problems in our life, Adhyatmik, Adidaivik, so these three are there. So it may happen like that. Bhutas are there, they may cause trouble to you. So anything can happen. So yes, we have to be a little more considerate and we have to be kind and we have to ensure that we are also able to bear it in the normal course of life. So Rahugana is saying, I'm very sorry I said these kind of words to you. I can see you are an enlightened master. Are you Kapila Muni yourself? Or somebody who has come to test me out? So kindly forgive me for saying these kind of bad words. And please cast a glance on me. Please show your grace. You let your grace flow onto me so that I can get out of these sins. He says, even if Shiva says these words, with the kind of person that you are, you can destroy even Shiva. That's what he says. But a person like me, even though he be Rudra, the bearer of trident, will certainly perish in the future if disrespect is shown to an exalted person like you. So he says, kindly forgive me. I thought of myself as some king and some great person, and I have spoken these words. So please forgive me, and I don't want to be in your bad books. And show your benevolent glance on me. So we have come to the end of verse 25 in chapter 10, and we will stop over here for today.